Well, you just never know how Spirit's going to show up. Anytime you're open to Spirit showing up, and you never know what Spirit's going to say anytime you invite Spirit to speak through you, and you never know how your prayerful thought will be responded to. And it's okay. It's not ours to know, but it is ours to experience. And I can assure you that every single prayerful thought, prayerful word, prayerful feeling is responded to. And what do we mean by prayerful? Well, we just mean we are consciously aware and connected to our source. When we make a statement, when we have a feeling, when something dawns on us, we know there has been an interaction with the small self of myself, with the great self of the one. And it's the purest of joys that each and every one of us can have. And so what I'm inviting us all to do in this moment is to simply be. That's all. Be here now. Be aware you're sitting in a seat. You're in a beautiful room. And you're just open, totally open to whatever it is that you will hear if you listen. See, listening is the key. Keeping your thought focused on one thing is the key. Because the mind is like a chariot of wild horses. It will go everywhere and anywhere except where you want it to go. And so we have to monitor that. And that's not a bad thing. It just says that the mind, is amazingly active all the time. And if you're not taking care of it by monitoring it, it can lead you up the airy mountains and down the rushy glens and God knows where else besides. But if you are in charge of your mind, and if you know what you want your mind to focus on, and if you state what you want your mind to focus on, that's exactly what your mind will do. It's like a little puppy if it's not trained. And you know what little puppies are like. And that's why so many take their little puppies to the trainers to have them trained. And even with that, I hear complaints. Well, I take the puppy to the trainer, but I'm not seeing much change. And of course, the trainer will say, the puppy's fine, it's the owner that cannot be trained. And I know that for a fact. For I have a friend who has puppies all her life that grow into big dogs, of course. She's never managed to handle those puppies ever. They have always ruled the roost. And she says, I don't know, I take them to the trainer. And that's why we're reminded in this moment now. You don't take your problems to the one. You don't have to. The one knows everything. You take your own trained mind to your problems, and then you're inspired by the one with regard to how to handle them. As it was written a long time ago, Aristotle, I believe, the trained mind is far superior to the untrained mind. Now, how many of us have a minute in the day to pause even to say, what's going on in my mind? Or how many of us will take the moment to do that? That's the question. How many of us will take the moment to do that? But in that little piece I was sharing before, and I said I would continue, that called The Key to Yourself, this chapter. The book was called The Key to Yourself by Bloodworth. And it just reminds us of the ways that we can handle our life and living in order to live a wonderful life. And now a wonderful life doesn't mean you're not going to have challenges in it. Not for a moment does it mean that. Of course you are. This is planet Earth, three-dimensional planet Earth. There's always something to sort out. There's always some challenge or another. It's a school of learning here. Not as much fun as a School of Rock, but if you haven't seen the movie, it's fun. It's a great children's movie. It's given to you to be a grown-up in your own life. And some of us take that very seriously, and others don't even pay the slightest attention to it, and all the various shades of responses in between. And I think that the only reason why we misbehave is because we don't quite understand life and its purpose, and why we put our hands up and said, let me go, I'll go. I know it's going to be a rocky road, but I'll go, I'll help. Hit the planet Earth, and then spiritual amnesia sets in, as you well know, as I keep reminding us. Not only does it set in sometimes first thing in the morning, but many times throughout the day, even though we've made the intention that we don't want that to happen. So here you are. You are this amazing orb of intelligence with the capacity and the capability of experiencing in your life things you would never have thought about or could ever have imagined you could accomplish and achieve. And yet that's the truth. Well, that's the teaching, isn't it? In its own image and likeness are you and I created. And how are we in the image and likeness of the One? Well, in the Catechism I learned, it was always stated that humankind is likened unto God in its soul. Nothing to do with our appearances, nothing to do with our humanity, everything to do with our spiritual essence. So we are likened unto the One in our capacity to go from strength to strength to strength to strength, to unfold from one good to the next good to the next good to the next good. We are created in such a way that you and I can morph ourselves into something more all the time. That is what evolution is all about, and spiritual evolution is the very same. We morph ourselves into a higher state of awareness each time we make a spiritual advance. It is more to do with energy, of course, than it has to do with matter. And that's the energy that has the power over matter. So yes, that's why Jesus shouted out one day when he was probably very tired and weary and he'd had enough, and he said, "Physician, heal thyself." One too many may have approached him for healing. Now, he wouldn't say things like that if it wasn't possible. And we have, throughout history, a whole caseload of self-healings along the way. Healings that should have been, medically speaking, impossible. And yet, it happens, doesn't it? So, is there something in your life, today that could do with some healing? I'm asking this as a very serious question because yesterday I was in Cedars-Sinai and I was with one of our members who is in the middle of making her transition. And although she's beautifully peaceful looking and she's there yoked up to all kinds of machinery, I know that she was more on the other side than she is on this side now. And having spoken to so many people before they make that final step over into their next advanced and higher experience of life, the only things on their minds are the people they love, number one. The people they love. And they're concerned for the people they love. This is a common thing. And then there's the feeling, I wish I could have been more. I wish I could have done more. I wish I could blah, 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 blah. And it has nothing to do with stuff and things and careers and achievements. Nothing ever of that is mentioned. It's always, I wish I could have been more. I wish I could have done more. And I'm very grateful for all the good in my life that I have experienced. Those are the things people are thinking of when they're on the threshold of this new and wonderful advancement. And I'm wondering to myself, why do we have to wait for that moment to get to that point where we absolutely, thoroughly know without the shadow of a doubt? It is the people in our lives that are number one and that matter. The people. And in COVID, we have seen this happen all the time, where suddenly we wake up and realize it's the people that we're considering and caring about and want to help more. People, people, people. What is it that brings you your greatest joy? I know for myself and many people I know dearly, that it is the ability to make a difference in someone else's life. The ability to make a difference in someone else's life. And you and I have that ability to make a difference in someone else's life, beginning with the ones under our own roof. Now you think that's easy. It's not easy. For the most people that I've ever encountered with the problems that they have in their lives, a lot of them stem from what happens under their own roofs. Now, if you can make a go of it with the people under your own roof, in your own family, or in your own family, extended family, you are an expert in relationships. And you should find dealing with people outside of that group easy by comparison. Isn't that amazing? This is not something that's new. We've been reading this, studying this, hearing this, coming to this over and over and over again ourselves. But whatever that is that gets into us under our own roofs, that causes us to be less than a good family member, is amazing to me, because we don't extend to the family at times the same consideration we extend to others outside of the family. Am I right or am I right? Do you find that to be the case? Don't we take the family for granted? Don't we expect more from the family than we do of others? I often think about my own family. I think about my parents. They never demanded anything of us. They expected it, of course, but not in a pushy way. They just took it for granted that we were good children. And they also didn't bog us down with chores to do either. And I can remember hearing my mother once have a conversation with another mother, and they were talking about the children and this and that and the other, and I heard my mother saying, now, you know, in my time, 200 years ago in Ireland, children couldn't be listening into adult conversations, so that was not allowed. You stepped aside and you played with you talked with the little ones or the children or whatever, but you didn't listen into adult conversations. And even at that, they had their own language. When they couldn't avoid things, they say, well, you know, Mrs. Cullen is in the family way again. Isn't that wonderful? They always called each other Mrs. and Mr. too. And I heard my mother say that day, well, you know, the children's work for me is their schoolwork. And if they do that, and they do it well, I think that's probably enough. I don't mind them being helpful if they offer their help and so on, but I'm not going to force them and tell them this is their job or that's their job. Because they're not going to be children for very long And when the world gets its hands on them, they'll have more than enough work to contend with. But while they're children, I see their job as schooling and taking care of their schoolwork. But if you are in the kind of a relationship with people that is a kind relationship, a caring relationship, the children will want to help out. They won't have to be made to. They'll want to help out. I wish we had that same kind of feeling as we go about the business of our adult lives, that we would like to help out. We would just like to help out, and where we see a need, endeavor to meet it. Don't go out looking for causes or needs. Oh, they'll find you, don't worry. And whatever the need is, it might be a need of a little critter somewhere around, a child, a pet, a person, a situation. But the whole idea is to be open and available to serve. Open and available to serve. Some people say to me, I don't like that word serve. I don't like service. I said, well, what is it you don't like about it? I mean, you can call it what you like. You can call it sacred seva and so on. We can use the various and sundry more romantic words for these things. But service is service. And it only means I'm awake and I'm alert to somebody's need around me. And if I can endeavor to answer it, I will. I can remember being in the convent of the first, because you eat your meals in silence. And consequently, everybody needs to be vigilant, so that if you see somebody needs the salt or the pepper or whatever, you pass it on. They don't have to ask for it. You just do. You become very alert to the needs of those around you, and you make sure everybody has what they need, you see. I don't know what it is in today's society. Well, I kind of do. I think we're so self-absorbed in today's society, and it is the gadgets that are absorbing us. People cannot cross the street without taking their eyes off their cell phones. They just can't. I remember I was about to turn down onto Fairfax up at the Grove area, and I'm on a side street, and one lady I'm just about to turn, and she steps right out and keeps going. And I just gently tapped the horn, and she goes right on and crosses the road. Well, excuse me for wanting to save you from injury, Mrs. But that's where we are today, aren't we? I'm not saying that the people in the, in the sanctuary at the moment is that way inclined. There you are. We know our place. I love it. But you see where I'm coming from. The busyness of the embodiment has stopped us and blocked us from being aware of each other. We're not even aware of ourselves, far less being aware of each other. So how can we make a difference in anybody's life if we don't see the opportunity, and if we don't come out of ourselves a little more? And I'm talking about very good people too, and very kind people, very caring people, but because they're so absorbed in all of this stuff, they just have not been able to extend that lovely energy of theirs because they're not aware of the opportunity to do so. And let me tell you, with the youngsters, it's a battle. It's especially the teens. It's a battle. And it can get really ugly, that battle. And I'm only asking us to look at our own lives, because that's big enough to take care of. We are each of us a handful enough to be able to take care of. And when I say take care of, I mean take care of the way you're thinking, take care of the way you're feeling, take care of your body, take care of your soul, take care of your life. For that, it requires you having a relationship with yourself. It requires you having time out to be with yourself and to tune into yourself and see what's going on. What's going on right now? Because you can go through a whole day and never have had a moment to stop and say, okay, everything good? Check what's going on. And especially if you're finding yourself losing energy, if you're finding yourself getting tetchy, if you're finding yourself getting irritable, if you find yourself not being the best of who you can be, it's a good sign. I should check in and see what's going on. I love this little piece. I mean, we've gone through some of this, but the piece that jumps out is, everything and everybody is governed by the same law, and we should not expect to reap riches from poverty thoughts, happiness from miserable thoughts, health from disease thoughts, or peace from angry thoughts, or any more than we would expect to gather tomatoes from a vine plant. Now, what you want to reap, you must sow. What you want to reap, you must sow. So if you want to have good feelings and good thoughts and good things happening, think good thoughts, feel good feelings, do some good. You don't have to take any of this as gospel truth. You need to test it out for yourself and see if it works. It's the only way we're going to know something is for certain sure. Test it out. Put it to the test. I mean, we sow our thoughts in our subconscious mind, and the law of growth brings them to visible expression. So, what appears in your life is the result of a combination of your thoughts and feelings. See, I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to happen. Works on either side. Works on either side. See, if you know it, if you know it, if you think it, if you think it, if you feel it, if you feel it, you can be guaranteed it's going to show up in your life. You can be guaranteed it will show up in your life. So be careful what we think and feel is the result of that. Every time you think, you start a chain of action that will indeed create a condition in strict accord with the quality of thought which originated it. Whether we have success or failure, it comes by the operation of exactly the same principle. The principle is unchangeable. Its operation is exact. We use the same principle and the same substance to bring either good or bad results. It is the seed you sow that decides the nature of your product. And we're talking about the seeds in our minds, and they're the ones we're so careless with. So, if you're going around about your business and you've been feeling good, okay, and then, all of a sudden you feel, oh God, I feel strange or whatever, stop for a moment and ask yourself, what have I been thinking for the last 2 hours to cause this feeling of mine to change? Stop and tune in. This now is something I have heard over and over again. You may have heard it over and over again. And yet, we still have challenges in our lives. Why would that be? Because we haven't been applying the principle. We haven't tested it out enough. Other people come and say, Dr. Moira, I've been trying this and I've been doing that and so on. and it's not working. Oh, I say the principle is working all right. You're just not working the principle as well as you could. As well as you could. So Ernest Holmes says, to the answer to the question, how long must I pray or treat? And he'll say, as long as it takes to realize the good that you desire. But in another place he'll say, to the question, how often should I treat? He'll say, one time is enough. But then you just said that you have to keep treating on to, oh yes, but what you're doing in all the rest of the treatments is supporting your original one. You're just supporting it. As I stated in the beginning, I am open and I am receptive to, and you keep supporting that. Now, there are other times when you will be so convinced that this good is there for me and I'm supposed to have it, that one statement of truth is going to be enough. There are practitioners who can state the truth for themselves and then release it and let it go and forget about it. Forget about it until the result shows up in their lives. That's how trusting they are of the creative process. That's how much faith they have in the creative process. Well, the rest of us may set out in the morning and make a treatment, and then by lunchtime we're saying, oh God, I hope that thing works. I hope that treatment works. Oh my. Well, you've just cancelled out the opportunity and you have to start from scratch. This is all you need to know, that you are the image, you are the likeness of a divine design for you. And for you is the opportunity to avail of all of the infinite intelligence that is within you, to assist you to live the best life that you can live, and to inherit the gifts and the graces and the blessings of the kingdom of consciousness, because the kingdom is a kingdom of consciousness. What you're entertaining in your mind will either stop and block you from all the gifts of the kingdom, or will release all of the gifts of the kingdom to you. There's nothing good nor bad, but thinking makes it so, as Shakespeare says. If you think it, if you think it, if you feel it, if you feel it, if you believe it, if you believe it, it's going to be so. The question is, can you be open to believing that? And if you're not there yet, keep working on your faith in the process. I trust the creative process in my life is a very good affirmation. I trust the creative process in my life. I trust the movement of spirit upon the good that I desire. I trust that. Ask and you shall receive. But our asking is not making a honey-do list. Our asking is a knowing. It's a faithful awareness that my good is there for me, and it is the divine intention that I should have it. But I must give it to myself. See, as far as the kingdom of consciousness is concerned, every good thing you will ever experience is already in place. Much of it now is still on the invisible side of life. It's there for you. But you have to flesh it out by your open receptivity to it and your absolute faith and belief in that creative process, being moved by your declaration of the good that you desire into the law of creation and have it come to you. That's how it works. Children get this very early. When you introduce children to understanding the power of themselves and the beautiful grace that is within them, and how, when they move on it, it of course affirmative and positive thoughts, because we don't want to introduce to a child that's young. Of course, you can also create a great deal of horror for yourself if you're going to be behaving nastily or thinking nastily and so on. You just get the child to know that how amazing they are. They're this incredible, unique, and wonderful, wonderful gift of spirit. And that within them, spirit has taken up residence. See, what spirit creates, spirit enters into, and it never leaves. Okay, what about Hitler, etc.? Never left Hitler and all the rest of our fellow brothers and sisters of that kind. It's just they didn't ever wake up to it. And it's our job to help each other to wake up in that awareness. That's why I think parents have the most challenging job there is on the planet. And I have a great respect for parents. And they don't get much preparation for it. And you can become a parent at a very young age. It's trial and error in the beginning. It's amazing how well parents do, actually. But when you have this knowledge and you have this information and you know that when your child comes, this is not a baby. This is not just a pure little, helpless baby. Not at all. This is a fully orbed, individualized expression of its creator. Full of wisdom, and knowledge, and awareness, and grace. But because this is three-dimensional planet Earth, there's no other way of coming into material being except by means of being a baby. I understand why babies cry a lot. It's pure frustration. They know who they are and what they are. And they just can't get it out. Anyway, my dear ones, I'm getting the signal it's time. But I want you just to honor yourselves. Honor yourselves and that amazing accomplishment that you achieved. Very few of the infinite possibilities that exist to be brought into life form ever happens. It's very few. Your greatest success of all is that you got yourself birthed. You're never, ever going to outdo that. But you could live up to it. Out of all the infinite possibilities, you were the one that the divine design entered into, that the presence of the one entered into, to know itself, express itself, and be itself by means of you. Can't think of anything greater. Now, they'll get the shepherd's hook if I don't move on now. So now this is the moment in our time when we take an opportunity to share from our prosperity. And it's a wonderful ritual, you see. And it doesn't matter what our prosperity looks like. It could be like this, or it could be like this. And that's not the point of this. It's to the ability to feel prosperous by sharing a little of what you have. Like the widow's mite in the gospel story. When Jesus was in the synagogue and all these great people were there, wealthy people there, and they're all showing off how much they were giving, and this lady puts in her little last penny. And Jesus just is absolutely enthralled by this woman's gift because she gave all she had. All she had, she gave. So this is really for your consciousness to grow in prosperity, to know I am blessed, I always have enough, and the enough I have is always plenty. And from that plenty, I can share. And it's our thanksgiving for all of our blessings and graces. So we take our gift between our blessing hands and we say, divine love consecrates my gift. It goes forth to heal, to bless, to prosper. All those who give and all those who receive. I rejoice in the sharing of my good. And I release my gift with love. And so it is. And so indeed it is. Thank you, my dear. Appreciate it. And so, my dear ones, whatever it is that's going on in your minds and your hearts today, just make sure that you bless it all. Just make sure that you are able to let go what you need to let go and allow in what you want to allow in. Make the portal a portal that's working. And what you need to let go through, let it go. And what you need to take in, take it in. And see if the day will be great and grand. So I'm going to thank you very much, all of you tuning in. And thank you very much, those of you who have started now that nucleus of energy in this great room so that it can grow. And I'm knowing for each and every one of you a very blessed, continuous day. And just know that it's beyond anything you might imagine how greatly you are cherished by your source, how you are loved by your source, and how your source is open and available and saying, here, use the power, use the energy for your blessing and your good and the blessing and the good of others. So go into your day knowing that you're amazing, you're one of a kind, and without your light, without your energy, life could not exist. It would implode upon itself. That's how essential you are. So off you go. Feel good about yourself and know there's always an answer to everything. There's a cure for everything. There is a way of moving through everything if you're going to do it alongside of spirit. So get out there and splash your good all over the place and make the difference. And thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Now I'm going to put my mask back on. Take care, everybody, and thank you for being here. Really enjoyed being in your company.